Hello all my artsy friends. Today we're going to paint a watercolor landscape. It's going to be a beach, so we got some of the little wood stakes that hold up the little strings and a little path, and I have a little bit of some background little sand dunes going on. We're going to do a pretty sun and reflecting into the water. So I don't know if you can see my drawing too well. I do it very lightly because I don't want it to show through very much. So as we go, you'll see it come together here. Let me just make sure my tape is taped down here. I'm going to start with just water, and I have one of these. I think they're called chip brushes, but it's just a very soft, bristled brush. And it holds a pretty good amount of water. They're a Chinese brush, I believe. So I'm just going to start by just putting water over my whole painting. I'm just going to go back and forth. The idea is to get the water into the paper, let it start absorbing into the paper, but also I want my water to be as even as possible. So I'm going to brush back and forth, and now I'm going to brush up and down. And I want to make sure I get every little spot full of water. And you can take your time at this point. We're going to work very fast. I'm going to show you how to do a wash. And we're going to work very fast with the wash. So I want to keep my paper as wet as possible during the whole wash process so that it'll come out nice and even. And I want it to absorb as much as it can. So I'm just going back and forth. My big old brush. You can use any brush that you have. Use a flat brush. I used to use like a 1-inch flat brush before I got any bigger brushes. If that's all you have, it's fine. Just get the paper wet. Okay, so yeah, I think I'll just go on a diagonal. Some of this is just stalling for time so that the paper can absorb as much as possible, but it doesn't hurt. It just makes things nice and even. So I'm brushing in all directions, and then sometimes you get a little hair, so I'll take them out right now, because if I get that and my paint goes on there and then I try to fish the little hair out, it's going to make a mark. So I'm going to try to get all the little furs out of there, just dust in the air. I can see a couple little spots here. And sometimes they're from the bristles of my brush. So this one I had a couple little clear bristles let loose there. Here's one here. So I'm just making sure that all my little hairs are off the brush, off the painting. Here's another one. Yeah, my brush is losing its hair too. It's old as well. Here's one up here. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave that. And now I'm just going to take my paper towel and dry off the edges of my tape, because I don't want my tape to peel up. And if it gets wet enough, it will. So I'm just going to clean up around the outside. All right. So I'm going to do kind of like a morning sunrise. So I'm going to get my number 8 round brush, and I'm going to start by just putting a yellow sun. I'm going to use my light lemon yellow, and I don't have it on my page yet. I'm just going to make it up as I go. I don't want it to be directly in the center, and I want to have some of this reflection coming in through into my water. So I'm going to do it off to the side, and I'm going to make a nice arc, half moon, half sun. It's a half sun. Like that. And I'm going to fill her in. And I'm going to bring it right on into this area where my water is going to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring it in and let it fade down as it gets closer to the front of the picture here. Something like that. Kind of zigzaggy is fine. We're going to paint over this as well, so don't worry too much about that. You know, the shape of it or anything right now. And I'm just going to take a little bit of water and just soften this edge here that I have is a little darker. Okay. And now I'm going to take a flat brush, whatever size you want. In fact, I can go a little bit bigger. You always want to use a big brush. This is a 3/4 inch. You can use a 1-inch brush. And I'm just going to take a little bit of rose. And when I mix the rose and the yellow together, it's going to make kind of like a orange color. So I'm going to bring my rose right down to my horizon line right here, because I want to get that pink sky, you know, that pink and purpley sky that's so beautiful. And I'm going to bring it right around my sun. Kind of thinking about the shape of my sun there. And I'm going to just kind of streak a little bit of this rose through the sky right there, and also a little bit into where the water will be because it's reflection. So I'm going to bring a little bit of my rose into my water, not too much, just a reflection. That's probably enough right there. Okay. And you can see it's kind of diffusing itself. And we'll just kind of let it do its thing there. And now I'm going to come back with a little bit of cerulean blue. Cerulean blue is a beautiful sky color. And I'm going to start getting my brush full. I'm going to go right at the top here. And I'm going to bring it down and right into my pink and get some of those purple colors. I'm going to start again up here because I want it to be a little bit darker because it's going to dry much lighter. Whoops, you can see I stuck that in the green a little bit. It'll be fine. There, now I'm just kind of coming down. Get a little bit more here. There we go. And now I'm gonna just softly bringing my paint into my pink, letting it become those pretty purple colors. And because there's enough water on my paper, it'll all just start blending together. And I'm going to come back with a little bit more blue and bring it into my water area here. So I don't want to cover up all of my yellow. I'm just going to kind of zigzag it in. A little bubble there. Okay, just kind of thinking about little waves and zigzags there. Zigzagged waves. Okay, and then I have this kind of this land poking through here. Bring it. So with this flat brush, now I can put it on its side to kind of get those zigzags, like I'm saying, those little waves. I'm not going to do it too dark. I don't want it to cover up my little fence posts here too much. So I'm going to try to kind of go around them as much as I can. I got a little bit of sun poking in here. And into my, kind of where my beach is going to be. See, I'm just kind of dabbing it in, and the beach is like right here, and I'm going to go over the top of this blue with some grasses. So I'm just bringing it down to where my grasses will start poking through. And if the blue gets in the color, the grasses color, that's okay. That'll look really nice. And some grasses here, so let's just define this a little. Now my paper's starting to dry, so I want to be mindful of that too. And there's some blue, and this is a little bit of water here. And that's going to have some grasses right in here and some sand. So I'm just kind of going around my little fence posts. And it's drying up on me fast here. I'm just going to bring it down. Kind of painting in between. And it's not a big deal if it gets on your fence posts, because those are going to be darker. So we always start with the lighter colors first. So it will be fine. If we paint darker on top, you will get a little bit of that blue hue though, which is reflection from the water. Okay. So that's looking pretty, and you see how that's all blending together and getting soft. Got a little bit of a, there we go, little hair there. Okay. So now I have rinsed off my brush. Now if I go back and touch and start fiddling around with all of this, it won't look nice. It'll show every brush mark. So I'm going to leave it alone right there. And I can start to begin to see my sky and into the pink, and here's my water right here, and my sun is zigzagging through. Now right here I don't like how that sun area is, and it can be white because there would be water white caps, but I'm just going to wipe out just a little bit and get my kind of my waves started here. So I'm just rinsing off my brush, dipping it in my water, coming back onto my paper, and I'm just bringing my little zigzaggies in how I want them. And they will get farther apart the closer I get to the shore. And they might even have a little bit more movement. So we're going to kind of keep them calm. Okay, so we got that part done. And now if it didn't dry too much, I want to try to put in a few little clouds. So I just have my Scott 1000 toilet paper with no pattern in it, and I'm just going to make a little shape here without any flat edges. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to push it down onto my painting and roll it. And I let it dry a little bit too much, I can see. So if it will show up better if it's wetter. So I should have done this. But I've got, I'm here in Florida and it's kind of hot, so things dry fast. But you can start to see. So what I'm doing here is I don't want to put the wet toilet paper right back onto the painting in the same spot. I'm getting a dry, clean spot, and then I'm kind of just continuing it on. And if you need, just get some more. Just get some more. Now we're going to go back and define these clouds a little. So they aren't showing up really great right now, but I'm going to help them along as we go. You can even put some in your sun. turn my paper. Get a clean spot. See them little clouds popping through? And here I'll get another clean spot. Little cloud there. Maybe put one here. And turn in my paper. And get in a little area. And then you lay it down and roll it. See that? Yeah, that's dry already. Let me move this up a little closer so you can see. Nice soft and subtle clouds, and now we can paint over the top of them in another layer. Let me put this back down. And if you like how your clouds are, then you can just let it dry. I think I want one more right there. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Maybe right there. Okay. Right over my sun and roll it into there. Oh, that's a good shape there. Okay. All right. So now this can all dry. You can dry it naturally or dry it with your blow dryer. And I'm going to do that and I'll be back. Okay, we're back and it's all nice and dry now. So now we're going to start working on some of these little sand dunes here and this beach area. So you can barely see my little drawing in there, but I'm going to take my, I got what, the 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'm just going to lay some water down a lot, and I'm painting in those sand dunes. So I'm just going to get it all nice and wet, do the wet on wet effect on here. Get my little drawing. I can barely see it, but it's there. There we go. That's my first one here. So I got that. And now I'm going to take just any color of kind of like a tan color that you have. I have this kind of, I think it's yellow ochre color in here. You could use a brown, quinacridine gold would be pretty. You could make this green if you want and do a green hill, a mountainy hill. We can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by just dabbing in some of this sandy yellow color. Make my little sand dune. And it's coming out into the water here. Kind of got a little alcove going here. A little speck of something. There we go. Flew into my painting there. Okay, so now I'm coming back and just kind of evening it out a little bit. And this one is farther away in the distance, so it's not going to have as much detail on it. I'm going to get me some green. A little bit of whatever green you like. This is kind of a little bit of an olivey green. And I'm just going to, just here and there, put a little bit of my green in here. And maybe here. What I'm creating here is just kind of grasses. Little clumps of grasses. And they're going to be far away in the distance, so we're not going to have too much detail in there. So the color is kind of doing the talking here. So see, I left some of my sandy color in there. And now I'm going to take something sharp. It doesn't matter not what it is, just something that we're going to scratch with. So I have with me just a little nail file. You could also do it with a little quill, you know, something like that. And I'm just going to take very small little strokes. Some longer, some shorter. And I'm just going to give that grassy kind of look there. And also what this does is wherever it kind of makes a dent into your wet paper, that paint will pool into that dent. So it just leaves little lines. And it'll define them. You can use that technique for leaves. Anything you want to make like little fine little tiny lines in. This is nice little scratchers. See how it's doing that? Making that kind of grassy look. You got to do this while it's nice and wet. And I don't want to do too long of strokes because these are going to be more in the distance, and as I get closer to the shoreline I'll make them longer and bolder. So these are just kind of little suggestions that there's some grasses growing back here. And make some longer. And it doesn't have to be everywhere. Just little tiny clumps. You can do this with a broken up credit card. You can cut it up and use the edges from your expired card to do this with. Just anything kind of sharp works well. Also bread ties, you know, the little plastic tie that you keep your bread closed. Those work good. There we go. Not too much. Don't need too much. Just gotta put a few little ones in there. Okay, so there's my first one. So now I'm going to come back and do the same thing after this dries. I'm going to add another layer here. So let's go ahead and dry this. And let me bring this up before we do that so you can see. So if you're painting along with me, you can do this step. Okay, so I'm going to dry this now with the blow dryer and we'll be back. Okay, everything is dry here. We're going to do another layer. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to get some water, and this is my second little sand dune here. So kind of just get that all wet. And then I'm going to drop in my sandy color again. And then I'm going to come back with my green. And I'm putting a puddle like right where I want to definitely define this from the one in front, or behind, I guess it is behind. Okay. And now I'm just coming back again. And this time I want to make a little bit longer grasses. These ones are going to be defined just a little bit more. We would see them more. I'm trying to make them longer so these look like they're behind and in the distance. I'm just taking longer strokes. Make some of them crisscross a little bit. Now we need a little bit more definition. We can see them a little better. They're closer up. Scratching them in. Okay. All right, so now we can dry this one, and then we have one more right here to do. But while that is drying, we can do something in the meantime. So let's get our sand down here going. And I'm gonna have a little cap kind of coming down to the water here. So I'm just putting water on it, and I'm not worried too much about my fence post. I'm gonna put some of this, I'm going right over that. And actually I think I'll go into this bottom little sand dune and have this path kind of leading off into that. So that means I'll soften up and wet this a little bit. Okay, and I'm kind of scrubbing with my brush here, getting it wet, lifting up some of that blue paint. And just making it very soft. Okay, so then I'm going to come in with my sand color here. And I'm just going to start putting it right where all that water is. And this will be a little path going down into this one here. So I'm just trying to kind of get this color on at this point. Go right over my fence post, because this is a good base color for that. I'm just getting some water on my brush and wiping it off, and just blending right into my water here. Just with the damp brush, I'm just moving that paint around. And if this is my sand, I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to put a little bit right in these fence posts. A little bit of that brown just because it's here, so I want to make sure that these are all going to look the same. Make sure they got some of that color on them as well. Dots in there. There's another one there. Okay. So I'm just take my brush here and soften a little bit right there. And it's going to come right into here and down. And that's where my waves will be hitting the beach. And soften that. Okay, so I'm going to come back now and make this a little bit stronger. This is my little continuation of the sand dune. of this color and bring it in. This is in between the posts. Shoreline there. That's my shoreline. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of my green that we used up here, and I'm also going to put some more grasses here, and then some clumps kind of growing here. Grass. Also want to put some grasses in around the post, but I'm going to wait to do that. So now I'm just going to take these, make my little marks with my nail file to represent my grass. I'm trying to get it to move as best I can. I kind of don't like my little pattern here. I'm gonna drop in a little bit more of my green. Yeah. We want to make these really long. Make them cross over each other. The little clump kind of goes to the side. Go different directions. Come on down into the gold a little bit. Getting that grassy. Isn't that fun? I love all the little tricks that you do with painting. It's so fun to just, you know, sit here and do this with this nail file, thinking, you know, it could be something that you painted in blade by blade, but it kind of paints itself, doesn't it? Yeah. And I'm just coming down just with the paint that's on my file. I'm making some more grasses. I'm going to put some color into these. They're going to be little flowers on my grasses. I'm kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, you know, how many clumps do I want? How much grass do I want in there? And I'm looking at the whole picture now, looking at it thinking, okay, where do I need a little bit more? So now I'm coming in with just water on my brush, and wherever I put those little scratches, this water is going to pool into those scratches, and to find them, the paint will show. I'm just coming and I'm softening out just a little bit some of these grasses, and bringing my green into it a little bit more here, softening my clumps, just kind of looking at my overall picture and what I want it to be like. So see how it's pooling right into all those scratchy marks? It's kind of fun. That's my fence post right there. And bringing that green down a little bit into my sand. And then I'm just going to take water on my brush and soften this line. That's my fence post, so that one's okay. This is my shore, so that's okay. And I think I want to soften this up a little bit. Bringing it out. Here. Okay, so this definitely looks like it's closer to us and this farther back. And that's the look that we're going for. And now also I want to put a little bit at the bottom of my fence posts here. So I'm doing it kind of heavy and very random, up and down. It's all around the post. I'm just going to start in a little area here. And then I'm just going to take, just kind of make it looser. Get enough water in there so that it'll move. Okay. So now I'm going to come back. Now I'm putting this a little bit more on the side. Just so maybe you can grab a little bit more paint. Doing my scratching. Now in watercolor we do a lot of painting in layers. So I'm really thinking about how, I can come back and do a little bit more on this. I've got to do my fence posts a little bit more detailed there, so I want to put these in, but it's not necessarily going to stay just like this when I go ahead and put some more layers in there. Oh, I think I like that. Just gonna sweep on out. And then I'm going to do the same thing as softening the bottom. Now I kind of like how that is, so I'm just going to take some water and just kind of softening this little line in here and blending it out, otherwise it'll kind of make a bloom in there. So I want to blend it out and make it disappear. Okay. And so now I'm going to come back up here and do the same thing, pretty heavy paint. And I have some fence posts here. I forgot this one here, so let's do that now. Okay. And let's put some water in there, make sure it's good and gonna move really easily for me. And my fence post there too. Okay. So I'm coming back now with my nail file or whatever instrument you're using. Bringing those up. Nice long grasses. Crisscrossing. And dragging that paint up into the post. That. And then now I'm just going to take water. Again, just like we did over here, on my brush, and just kind of blend it into the sand. soften it into that. There. Bring it out. Okay. Okay, so now I have my sky, the sun. We've got some little grassy dunes coming through here. I've got some sand in here. And I still want to do the fence post, so let's get it dry and then we'll come back and we'll start the fence post. Okay, it's all dry. So now we're going to get started on the fence post. You can use whatever brush you want. A flat brush would be probably nice. I got here doesn't tell me what it's in Chinese. I'm not sure what size, but it's just a smaller, this is my 3/4, and then I have a smaller one. You could go even smaller than that if you want, because these got a little bit more detail. So this one here says it's a number 8. So I'm going to use sepia. And I'm going to water it down and make it light to start with, and then we can build a shadow on one side. So I got my little test paper here and like to see how dark I've got it going. So that's a pretty good color, or maybe a little bit more water into that. Test it again here. Yeah, so we got it pretty light. So I'm just going to fill in my fence post, and I'm not going to worry too much about the little strings because we're going to make them darker, the ropes. So I'm just going to come on in and do a little layer of my fence post. You can leave some light areas in there so it looks kind of weathered. And on the tops of the wood, the round part, I'm going to leave that lighter. So just kind of, that's the top right there. And then this is the post. I'm going right into that grass. And you can use, I don't know if you can see the side of my brush here to make it kind of straighter. Of course, it helps if you put enough paint into your brush. Top a little light, and then just coming on down, right down into the grass. And now these fence posts are, farther away, getting closer. So and think about, how they're kind of rustic, weathered. They're weathered. That's what they are. So you can leave a few little light spots in there. That's nice. And I can barely see my other fence posts here. Right here. And my sketch there underneath. A little bitty one right there. And then there's some down here. Just gonna paint them in. Just continue painting your fence posts. Don't worry about it being super straight because these guys are weathered. They've been out here for a while. That's the story. Okay, so there's my little fence post. Now I'm going to come back with that sepia. And this is where my sun is. So my light, my shadow is going to be beyond the sunshine here. So this sun is going to shine on this left side of my fence post. And here it might shine a little bit on this side, I think. I'm just doing a little bit darker. And now I'm just taking my brush, and see, I'm kind of just making long streaks, and that's kind of showing my texture in the wood. So you could just do that if you wanted and just have a little bit of a shadow there. I'm going to add a little bit of the texture of my wood in my shadow, if you would. Ha ha. Lame joke. You're leaving that. See, I got that white area there. I'll leave that. It doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all. And then we can finish this little guy here. And I forgot, my sun should be on the other side on these. Sometimes I'm not really good with the shadow thing, but maybe no one will notice. Okay. I'm going to put a little darker here. A little darker on this side. And then moving on, I'll make my shadow here. I really love to paint, but if you know a better way to do it, I mean, there's no right or wrong. You just enjoy yourself. And if there's a better way to do it, well, by all means, I encourage you to do that and share your comments with me, because I learn so much from you guys. And always learning all the time. Every time I paint something, I'm learning a little bit something new, I think. So, all right, that one's not gonna, a little too dark there. I didn't dab my brush too good. It's all right. It'll blend. There we go. All right. So also what I can do is maybe add a little bit of my sandy gold color to kind of show that there is the sun shining on this. So I can warm it up a little bit on the one side, and another layer of color in there. Not too much, just a little. I still want it to look brown. That's just my sun. Painting my sunshine in. So I think the sun will be right there on this one. And I think it'll be up here a little bit. And then here. Sunshine. There, gives it a little bit more color, something else going on. Okay, so now I want to get a little bit more dramatic, because I'm looking at it, it's pretty, it's fine, but sometimes if you really emphasize and get a little more dramatic on those shadows, it really makes it look really nice. So I'm not going to go solid, I'm just trying to bring them down, anchor it in. Another layer. I'm just using the tip of this flat brush to kind of make a texture in here. And then here, I think right here, it's still going to be shadow. Now, if I was painting like plein air with, I could see the shadows. This would be a really nice plein air subject to paint. That's just painting outside. That's all that means. And put a little bit of maybe shadow along here where the bottom is within the grasses there. Maybe a little bit as it transitions here. And around the post a bit. I'm just using that edge of the brush. Like that. So I think it looks a little bit more dramatic this way. Maybe just kind of this edge might have a shadow going down. Okay, so now I can kind of correct this. So I'm going to come down, making this more dramatic of a shadow. A little bit into the grass. Maybe a little bit right on that edge. Kind of let it wash out on the top. Same thing here. It's kind of bleeding into my grass there. I didn't let it dry, but I can fix that a little bit. I'm going to put some flowers in here. Okay. And then come back and do the same thing on these ones. Thinking about that rough wood and the texture there. This one has a little bit in the center, and kind of this edge a little bit right there. Try to have a delicate touch with it, if you can. It's kind of hard sometimes. Okay. Alright, I think that makes it look a little bit more dramatic. You can see my shadows a little better. Okay. And now I'm going to take a finer brush. I've got me a number 4. And I'm going to take that sepia. And on these little, whoops, I'm going to try to get a point on here. And I'm just going to kind of dab a little bit, just make it look rough, these tops of the posts. So they're going to be, kind of rounded posts, so that'll get a curve into the tops here. And I'll put a little bit of texture in there because they're Probably pretty worn. So just kind of making it up as I go here. Really don't want to make it too difficult for anybody, so bring this down the side a little more. There. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, just to define it a little bit. Okay, back to the tops, going over here, put a little bit in here. Oops, get a little bigger. I kind of shook a little bit. Sometimes my hand is shaky. It is today a bit. That one's not really showing. I can feel my hand shaking there. Didn't even have any caffeine. On days like that, that's when you definitely want to paint a loose painting. Get a little bit more definition in that one there. There. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta know when to stop. So right from now, I can always come back to this a little more if I wanted to, so I'm just gonna stop right there and see what I have in the end, and I can always touch up because I want to put the little ropes between them also. So we're going to do that, but I'm going to do that one of the last things I do because that's going to be darker. Okay, so now I want to work on my sand here a little bit. So I think, you know, you kind of get these ridges in there where people have been walking a little, kind of wore out a bit. So I'm going to come back to my goldy color here. And I'm just going to kind of define a path in here. So I think, you know, kind of where the sides are here. We could kind of get that going in there. And also kind of have it go around into here. Just kind of making my sand, blending it in to the grass. Blend it into that grass there. And then let's say the path is over here too. Kind of behind here. Blending this down a little bit into that. And maybe it has a little bit of wave, or, you know, like maybe where the people have been walking more. So little bit of texture, and I think I'll take a little bit of more of a brown, add a little bit while this is all wet. I think this could use a little brown in here. Nope, I lost my brown. Let's get some more. Okay. And maybe that. And you can just work on this a little. Wet on wet. Leave some light. And soften some of this area. Make it soft. There. Maybe make this a little more sandy. So this foreground will have more kind of details than farther away, of course. I think, yeah, adding that brown in there is nice. Be up here by the grass, fill in that corner. And then I'm going to soften this just a bit. Bringing this out, soften that. Get my little gold and make another little kind of step down. Make these go closer together in the back. Get my brown. And now just water. Kind of went into my fence post just a little. Didn't mean to. But just making some movement in the sand. This is behind the fence post, so I want it to line up. And just water, softening some of that out. Okay. And a little more brown right in here. So it's just kind of intuitive. You kind of just feeling it. Feel whatever you're feeling like. A little brown in these guys here. Okay. So we'll just kind of softening it and blending it. And I can see, like right here, I really went into my fence post. Soften that line. So as it's wet, you can still soften, but don't put too much water. If you put too much water, it will make a big balloon. So just leaving some lighter shades and darker shades. Blending them softly in, like that. A little too light right there because it's really shining white. There, just kind of soften that out. Okay. And I'm going to grab my toilet tissue now. So where I've kind of went too far and it bled right into my fence post, I'm just going to take water, blending it out. It's a good thing it's on the sunny side, so that is the same color I used. for that. And I'm just going to take my toilet tissue, moving it every time so I'm not printing it back in. And I just, as it was wet, it was still wet, so I was able to do that. Just kind of erase it, if you will. Okay, so there's my sand. It's looking pretty and worn, and maybe there's some ripples in there. Maybe I should put another one right here before it dries, a little darker. And a little bit of the brown. So it almost looks like a stairway, but it's not a stair. Yeah, that's better, and a little bit more of this gold. Okay, so, all right. So now I'm gonna let that dry, and we'll be back. Okay, it's all dry now, and now we can add some more details to it. That's really gonna make it come to life. So I'm gonna get my number 8 round brush out here, and we're gonna do some more details in the shoreline and in the water too. So get it wet, straighten out a little bit here. So I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna take let's see, cobalt blue. We're gonna make a really pretty blue water, and I'm getting it to kind of like the like skim milk, light skim milk consistency. Test it on my paper a little bit. Okay. So I want to define my horizon line just a bit. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to take my blue and paint it where my horizon is. I don't want to cover up where the sun is, because where the sun is, it's usually very intense and bright. So I just rinsed my brush out, and I'm just kind of doing a little zigzaggy, leaving some white in there. Okay? So now I'm going to come back, and on this side it's more pink. The sky is more pink, so I'm going to just start working on the one side. So I'm going to leave some of this background blue in here, but I'm going to come in and just do kind of like a soft zigzag. Just with the tip of that brush, leaving some white, and rinse out my brush, and then I can come in and just kind of soften that. I want to make it look natural, like there's some waves back here. So it'll be much softer in the background than it would be in the foreground. Adding a little bit of blue, just a little bit on that side there. Get my water, blend some of this out before it dries. You don't want to wait till it dries. Just kind of soften it in. Now that part did dry a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with some more of the blue and just make it do what I wanted it to do. And over here it's blue, so I'm going to come back in, leaving some white areas. Well, they're not exactly white because they have the blue background color in there. And let's see. Now as they get closer, they're farther apart. And soft, because it's calm. It's a calm day out here by the water. With water, I'm softening it out. Oh, get a little paint on my brush. It's usually darker in the background, so this is too dark. So get my water. Blending it up a little bit. Blending it into that yellow of the sun. Just a little bit. Make it soft. And some little areas can be darker. That's nice. It shows, you know, the separation of the waves. Let's make this. And as it's coming around to my shore here. My water. Okay, so that's one side. We're going to let that dry. And on this other side, just at this horizon line, we'll go ahead with the pink. And I'm going to soften it. And a little bit more of the blue right over that pink right here. Just water on my brush, bringing it in to the sun there. Blend that up. That's good. Okay. And a little bit now over here with the blue. Got water on my brush. Just kind of blending it. Being careful not to blend too much into my sun. I don't want that sun ray to disappear totally. But this is kind of tucked in a lagoon. So this can be a little darker. Water. And then in here it's a little darker too, just a bit. See how easy it is to make water? Isn't that pretty? I'll turn it up straight here for you. Okay, now on the shoreline here, we can make that a little nicer too. And then also where it is, let's start here, where it's the water is coming onto the land here. So I'm just going to take my blue, very, very watered down, and I'm going to just touch that edge, going in between, and I'm just going to bring it onto the shore. Okay, so that's like where it's going right up into the sand. And the blue is really just from the reflection, because it's not blue sand. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my brown, very watered down, and just kind of at that edge, I'm gonna make it dark, like a shadow from the water. I don't know if it would be over there, so let's erase that. And then I'm gonna blend it. So just working in layers as I go here. Okay, so now my water is, put the brown into here. We're very, very subtly. Very subtle. Just blending that line right there. You know, this looks like it's kind of coming in. And I think I'm going to take that brown just a little darker. It's just a shadow of where this water is. Okay, yeah, leave it like that. Okay, so that's good. And now I'm looking at this shoreline here, and it needs a little bit of shadow and shading. So I'm going to start with that green, but it's going to be a little bit more intense. And I'm just going to come on this edge. Bring it around. Okay. And I'm going to just kind of bring it up so there's a little bit of texture, or not texture, what would the word be? Like an edge, cliff definition. There we go. Okay. In there, and then I'm going to take my water. I'm just going to come and soften that. Oops, get a little carried away over here. There we go. Okay. And so now that I have that, I'm going to take a little bit of my water blue, which was cobalt, and I'm just going to touch it in on that very edge. And go a little into the water to make a little shadow from the land. Go underneath it. And can also make it part of the water. There we go. And then right here, I'm going to see a few that kind of bled up a little funny that I didn't like, so I'm just going to soften it. I kind of like this little edge, like that. Okay, so then it looks like it's more gradual and into the water. And now I'm just kind of looking at it and thinking maybe I need a little darker green, a little bit on the edge here, because I like it how that turned out there. And I'm just softening it so it looks more natural. Just want it to look natural. Okay? Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing on this little guy here. So I'm going to bring my green, make that horizon, or that little line, and then I'm going to take some of the blue, dropping it in and into the water. And then I want to blend it into that right there just a bit. And then this can come out. Into my lagoon area. And then I'm just going to soften this top edge a bit with just damp brush. Just a little. Like that. And then I've got one more little spot. Right here I can do that little bit too. Just a little. Middle of the blue. Just like that. Kind of makes it more grounded. Alright, so we've got that beachy. We got little marks in where you might go up and down into the sand here. And I have this part of my sand. And I think what I want to do there is I want it to be more sand colored. So I'm just going to come back in right at the other side of this edge. Draw my sand in there and put a little dab there. And now I'm just going to take my water, blend it on in. Maybe now I'm going to take some of the really watered down and not make it too solid, but add into that a little bit of the brown, very watered down. Just kind of bring it into my sand here, so it kind of makes sense. Blended there. Okay. Alright, so now I have sand. The water is good. Now we can play around with my clouds a little bit. So that's not too much. You don't want to do too much, but I just got super watered down the same blue that I used in the clouds. So that was the cerulean. And just got it. There we go. A little bit watered down, and now I can see where that imprint was from the toilet paper that we did. So I'm just here and there, just kind of going where that is, and I'm going to leave the one side lighter where it was kind of wiped out, and I'm just going to come back and blend that, this side here. So see, you just defined it a little bit more. So let's see, I've got another little, whoops, a little dark, but that's okay. So I'm just kind of coming in, make a puffy cloud. Now I'm just going to take my water. Blending it out. Blend this in. I mean, clouds can be anything, right? I mean, they're up to your own imagination there, because they're changing by the second. Just make them how you want. I don't want to make them too sharp, so I'm coming in and softening a few little Sharpie edges. You can also make some more little background clouds with just water and wiping it out. So just kind of playing around. getting those clouds. And let's see, I can come around here a little bit. Here. And softening them out, make a little cloud. Feel like Bob Ross, happy little cloud. And then I can do the same with my rose. You know, I can kind of come here because it's rosy colored here. Bring that up into that one. Come around here. Just kind of defining them a little bit, bringing some into my sun. And then oftentimes, you know, the bottoms of the clouds will reflect up from the water there. So if I want, I can add a little bit of that kind of thing going on, maybe a little bit of puffies in the clouds. Soften it out wherever you want it to be softer. So really, yeah, it's just playing with it a little bit. You could put gray in there. Every cloud has a silver lining. A little bit of purple would be pretty. Okay. And I don't want to make it too hard for you. Just kind of showing you basics, and then you can take it a little further if you want to or not. So a little water. There. So I've got a little bit going on there. I don't want to make it too busy, so I'm just going to stop there with that. And so now we can move on to our fence post. So I'm going to take that little tiny brush again with a nice point on it. So this is a number 4, but I love the point on it, but you could use like a 00 if you want. And I'm going to go into the sepia, and I'm not going to do too many details on our ropes either, but I'm going to have them tie around our fence post here. Okay. So wherever I want to have my fence posts tied, just kind of coming in. I'm trying to do this as fine as I can, as fine as possible. Show up, of course, but there. And we'll have them come down here as well. making them curved. That one kind of bled a little bit right there, but it'll be fine. Either that or I pressed too hard. You gotta have a fine little delicate touch. What I'll do is I'll just take a little piece of my toilet tissue while it's wet. Just get water on my brush. There. Not too bad. Okay, so now I'm going to draw in the little ropes that go between. Now this kind of bled into the grass. There, fix that. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this and just very lightly, and as much as I can, be light about it, connect them. So that one's going to connect to this. Like that. A little bit more paint in there. Make them match. And then this one is going to connect to that one. Whoa. Okay, so that didn't turn out too good. I really shook. Same thing. Get that, lift it out. Get a little bit of water on there. Little toilet tissue, blot it out. See that? And you know I'm gonna put some flowers in here, so we're gonna not worry about that one. With this one kind of. Okay. Then here. And there. So there's my little ropes. Okay, so I've got my clouds, I've got ropes. I now just need some flowers and some shadows. So I think what we'll do is first put in a few little shadows. So I'm going to get my flat brush out again. And I like to use, this is called Moon Glow. So it is kind of like a purple and a gray put together. I like that a lot. Now I want it to be very light. So I'm going to water this down. These are just some fence post shadows. So wherever, you know, I might have some shadow like from this fence post and the sun is there, so I think they're going to come kind of like that. And maybe like that. That. And then there's some kind here, going there. And I get my angles a little messed up, don't I? Oh, well. Maybe I'll make it more interesting. Shadows. Okay, so there's my shadows. Alright. And you can see wherever the grass is that it dense down into that, so I probably shouldn't do too crazy on there, should I? Okay, so we'll just leave that like that, and now we can put in some flowers. So we're just going to do some little white flowers. So I have, the last thing we're going to use is this Bleed Proof White by Dr. P.H. Martin. And it is very thick titanium white. You can see it's, so I usually just put some water on the edge rim here and swirl it around and get my white going. So what we can do here now is, especially in these areas that, you know, maybe something is wrong, this is a good way you can, okay, I put a fresh battery in, we were running on empty there. Okay, so as I say, I'm just taking this brown, kind of bringing it into my post just to warm them up a little bit more. A little water to soften it. Doesn't take too much. So that's how we do the watercolor, with lots of layers, and just keep layering it up until it is like you want it to be. Warm up that just a tad. Top there. This needs to be a little bit more like that one there. I like that better. I like it better than this one, but see how you guys liked it. Oh, went on the wrong side again. It's still okay. So take some water. Yeah. A little water to it there. Go over here with some brown. Go on this side. So I have these in real time so you can paint along with me. So if you haven't gotten out your paints yet and done this, you know, you can always go back and paint along with me. Put some water in here. Leaving some light areas also. I think I'm trying to be a little too quick. Sometimes I get all ahead of myself here, so. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Doesn't hardly look like I had any on that one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's our nice soft little beach. And we're gonna sign it. So how I do that is I like to take my little calligraphy quill here and put some paint right into the tip there. And I always test it, because if it's too wet, it won't look very good. So I just kind of give it a test here. See if it's going to write well. And it's doing okay. So I also like to sign somewhere up a little higher, because when you put this in a mat, a lot of times you cover it up unintentionally. So try to find a spot that it won't detract too much. Maybe like right in here would be nice. Barbara Swift. There. All right. Well, thank you so very much for staying to the end and watching my whole video. And I will put up another video very soon. Go back and watch some of my Mix It Up Mondays where we've done, randomly grabbing 2 paints out of my paint box, my Daniel Smith paints, and putting them together too and see what happens when we mix them. So we did a whole series like that. And I'm going to take this off of here and give you a little close-up and show you. Here's the sky coming down into the beach. All right, so if we can't go on vacation, we can paint our own. All right, until we meet again, I hope that your week is full of peace and love, and thank you. Bye-bye.